So how do you get your dog to stop barking? Oh, it's easy. Just stuff its mouth full of treats, right? Nah, seriously. How do you get your dog to stop barking? Um, we're gonna talk in this video about like the actual psychology behind why your dog is barking so much. I mean, I'm assuming you're not watching this video because your dog barks like once when the mailman goes by and then. I'm talking about this like incessant, like, dude, will you stop barking? Like you're driving me crazy style bark. Or it's just non-stop. And you could like be like, quiet, quiet, and they're just like, blah, 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 blah. That kind of stuff. It's enough to drive you nuts. And if you're looking on YouTube for different videos, there's helpful videos out there. There's all kinds of things. Like, that's the thing about life and dog training. You gotta go with what resonates with you. You can figure out solutions to problems in more than one way. And there's, different personality types gravitate towards different methodology. You might find that with a certain type of dog, you'll have more success using one, type of thing versus another. Situational events that determine the most effective style of communication. There's a variety of factors, so I won't just be like, oh, that doesn't work, because sometimes that works, whatever that is, and then sometimes that doesn't work, and you have to kind of figure it out. And sometimes something that was working initially will kind of stop working, because if that happens, usually that's a sign that you're not addressing like the actual root element. When you experience like that kind of up and down progress, when you really seriously address like the root element, that's how you get the smooth, consistent results, instead of just hoping for the best every day. So here we go. Dogs model their behavior, meaning like, I'm not exactly maybe sure what to do right now, but let me like observe my surroundings and see what everybody else is doing. They're pack animals. That's why with certain breeds especially, it's good to keep the dog in their litter, like with their mom, for a little while. Like some people take the dogs out too soon, and the dogs are deprived of an opportunity to model behavior of the mom and then learn how to interact socially with the other puppies. Bite inhibition is one way this comes up all the time. They don't learn to not bite each other, so when the time comes where they're with the human, they're just biting all over the human as a puppy, not to try and hurt the human. So there's certain behaviors that are really apparent that the dog learns from modeling, and then there's other behaviors where they might just seem, like the dog invented this behavior. But I want you to understand something really clearly. I've talked about this in a lot of my videos. The way that human beings communicate with each other and with everything is completely opposite how dogs do. And all you have to do to notice this is to actually just notice it. When two dogs come up to each other that are both in a good state of mind, the first thing they'll do is they'll sniff each other, and then they'll use their body language to kind of circle around and sniff different parts of each other. And then maybe one of them will like go woof or something, and then they'll run around. Or if they don't like each other, then one will go or something. But do you see how it works? It's nose, they smell, they use their eyes to discern body language, subtle movement, posturing, and then maybe they'll vocalize something, and it'll be short. Hardly ever will you see one dog, unless it's like a completely unbalanced dog, so therefore it's not appropriate example of what I'm trying to illustrate to you in a real clear way of like how the dog kingdom actually works and how dogs communicate with each other. But like unless you're dealing with like a really unbalanced dog, you're not gonna like see two dogs come up to each other and just be like woof 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 woof. That's not how they communicate, man. So, and if you do see that, one of the dogs is being pretty stupid because that's just not how it works. So getting back to why is your dog bark so much? If you typed in like why does my dog bark so much or how do I stop this crazy dog from barking all the time? Well, I'm glad you found this video because if you listen to what I'm saying and you actually like hear it for real, you can fix your dog pretty fast because you're going to understand why they're doing it, where they got it from, and how you can proactively create a whole different reality for them once you communicate it to them clearly. I've solved cases like this within minutes just from a change of how I communicate with the dog. And all of a sudden, the dog adopts an entirely different communication strategy. The owners are just like, we've tried everything. And I'm like, well, you didn't try just being real with the dog for real. And I mean, that's not meant to be an insult. I'm just saying, it's like really how simple it is. Dogs model their behavior, especially if they're with a family. All people do all day long is talk. We say stupid things like just to hear the sound of our own voice. Like, it's kind of silly. And once you start to like get into personal growth or maybe spend some time really considering our dynamic relationship with this like reality that we live in, you'll start to realize like we have two ears and one mouth for a reason. It's because we're designed, even though we're extremely vocal species, getting back to the whole dog thing, we're the opposite of that. When we communicate, we use our mouth, then our eyes, and then our nose, maybe. Total opposite of dogs. So, because we're so vocal in our ways, and then you put a dog in that situation and you don't provide clear guidance to that dog as to how you're vibing with it and what you're expecting from it, and all that dog ever perceives all day from humans is sound waves bouncing back and forth from one another, and anytime they interact with the dog, it's this big time sound thing. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? How are you? Blah blah blah. Blah 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 blah. Well, when you view it from a dog's psychology standpoint, it's pretty obvious that the dog is going to model that behavior back. What does that mean? That means your dog is going to become a vocal creature. Dogs are real adaptable. You've seen maybe some other videos where we talk about this. They're really good at like sizing up how they need to fit into a situation to survive, and then taking on that role, whatever it is. Unfortunately, a lot of times the role that they take on isn't a good role, and that's where I come in. They think they need to run the show or guard the door or, you know, anything. And I had to say, hey, no, here's your role, doggy. I love you. And show them a much happier, less stressful existence of how to just relax and be themselves. But understand that if you're dealing with a dog who's like making way too much noise, he's learned behavior, and they're doing it as a imitation is the sincerest form of flattery style of intent. They're doing it to try and fit in with the dynamic of what they perceive as like how everybody else is doing it. So if now when the door knocks, your dog's like woof 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 woof. Well, what happens to you guys if the door knocks? Mom, someone's at the door. Who is it? It's just the so-and-so. Oh, just sign for the package. I'll be down. You see all this sound that's created as soon as the door knocks? So what does the dog think? Oh, well, door knock. Let me participate in this activity of humans trading sounds with one another, and I'll fit in. It's such a sweet, innocent, like, motivation that they have. And that's why I'm, like, really unbothered. Like, when I come into a dog situation to help a family or a person with their dog, I'm really, like, not taking anything that dog does personal. I mean, that should seem pretty obvious just as an adult professional. But you'd be surprised at how we, because of our insecurities that we carry around subconsciously, that we do take things personal. And we don't even realize we're doing it. And that's a huge problem. Because when you're trying to have, like, a really solution oriented conversation with someone, and you need to point out different things to navigate towards that goal of, like, actual results, there's a lot of feathers that can be ruffled. And, I'll know right away if I'm dealing with somebody that I can just speak freely with, and they won't get all butthurt. And then I know other times, hey, I'm going to really have to, like, uh, choose my words carefully and present them in a really graceful and humble way, so that this person doesn't feel challenged, so that I can get them to hear what I had to say, so that I can help the dog. The dog is easy. Usually by my second training session, I'm like the dog's best friend in the whole wide world. And I don't do that on purpose. It's such a repeatable thing. When a dog comes into energy that's, like, grounded and understanding of, like, how this all works, they immediately just, like, gravitate towards that energy. And my job, the hardest part, is to show the owners how to tap into that energy so that they can get their dog to take them as seriously as the dog will take me. Like, and I view it as a relational thing. Like, when I come into a house and meet a dog for the first time, my goal isn't to, like, control the dog or, be dominant over the dog. My goal is, number one, to make sure that everything is safe so that I don't get bit. I don't, if I'm trying to connect with this dog who's, like, projecting a lot of, like, do not cross this line vibes, with their teeth or, whatever. My first goal, obviously, is to just, like, proceed with caution. But my second goal is to calm everybody down and establish, like, real communication. And then whatever behavior we're dealing with, we'll be able to address it in a real true way. Instead of trying to, like, put out a fire real quick, check my watch, I got another appointment, I gotta go. Try a sit, okay, your dog sits, we did our job, bye. I'd be, like, horrified to, like, spend my time that way. Just leaving out of situations with a dog who accomplished the behavior, but really isn't a changed dog. And you'll know if the dog, like, is getting it or just, like, going through the motions. So if you're dealing with a dog that's barking a lot, just start paying attention to how much sound you make. It's real simple. Start recognizing how many extra words that you use all the time, and start realizing that when you do communicate with your dog, you're usually the one who initiates the sound. Try to stop. Here's a little exercise. You can take it in a couple different stages. Number one would be stop using your dog's name for a few days. Just don't say its name. And number two would be try and cut the amount of words that you're using in half to your dog, and if possible to everybody else. You could turn it into a family game. Say, hey guys, we're playing a game now for the next 24 hours we're going to try and you remember that game Charades, where you would like move around and they would guess, oh, whatever, whatever. Try and like adopt that kind of mentality. Be like, hey guys, let's pretend that every time that we say words, we have to like put a penny in the jar. So like, hey mom, how many, why are we having leftovers? Like, make it a game. Like, be like, show your dog that you guys can function in an environment where you're not constantly projecting these noises out of your mouth. And watch how your dog just kind of observes that. Dogs are real observant. We've discussed in other videos, and there's a section in my book all about this, about how dogs just sit around and pretty much pay attention to stuff all the time. And we don't do that, like, hardly ever, unfortunately. We're, like, always distracted. It's very rare that a human will just stop and say, I have 5 minutes. Why don't I just sit here and breathe? It's almost like in our society right now, 2026, that's like weird. Why, like, you're at the airport. Why is that guy just sitting there staring at nothing? Because that's what people used to do to calm or regulate our nervous systems and not be constantly bombarded with like the next thing. That stuff affects your energy like so much more than you would ever realize it, man. It's all about like how our brains are wired to keep getting like a slot machine on a lever on a slot machine, We're constantly looking for that ching, ping, pong. Did my phone beep? Did I get an email? It's probably like an ad from the place I shopped at last month, but ooh, look, an email. And your dog doesn't have like any of those like mental like, whatever you would call them, like hits. It's like a drug, man. Those phones are nuts. The psychology behind that stuff is no joke. They're literally changing humanity and rewiring the way that humans communicate with one another. I've watched it happen in my lifetime, and it's pretty weird, dude. And that's why I'm like all about dogs, because dogs are like an anchor. They're a lifeline to like our way that we should really be. And in this day and age, man, if you can't package something up and market it in some shiny, glitzy way, people really aren't interested in it. That's why I roll the way I roll with my dog training. I let people find me who are honestly, like, sincerely wanting to, like, improve their relationship with their dog. Those are the kind of people that will do that. These other people that are just like, hey, will you come and fix my dog while I like scroll through my Instagram feed? I mean, I've like walked out of appointments numerous times actually. Be like, hey, you don't have to pay me. I'm out of here. Well, where are you going? I'm just going to go and help somebody who's actually paying attention. No hard feelings. If someone's brain is so wired in that they literally can't like devote like 15 minutes of like sincere concentration on like their dog and like how their energy is being in relation to the dog, I don't want to invest any time in that, because I know that the dog is going to just, the dog is looking at a lot of times, man, I hate to say it, and if you're one of these people, I highly doubt you're watching this video after 20 minutes of me just sitting here talking, so I'll just say it. Way more times than I would like to admit, I'll be in somebody's house with their dog. I'll have been talking with this person for a while. I've already like got their dog super dialed in, where the dog is just like, I'm I'm content and at peace, and therefore I'm acting content and at peace. And the owner's just jabbering on and on about how they're not going to be able to recreate this, or what's even worse, when I know the dog is screwed. I've lived some places and been just like crying on the way home out of like sympathy for this dog having to live with this person. A lot of times, believe it or not, when I get an opportunity after I've showed the person, how this works and their dog is like cool, rather than like participate in that, what we just created, which is why I came, they'll start telling me like things that I don't even know if they would tell their therapist. I'm a really disarming person. Like, I tend to like make people feel pretty chill when they're around me. So usually after I spend a couple hours with people and their dog's like calm, and they think their dog is just all magically fixed, and like when I leave, the dog's just going to be like, I took some notes, I'm going to go study the notes I took from my training session so I don't forget any of this stuff. No, that's not how it happens. The dog's like, well, as long as I'm around energy that's proper, I'll behave this way, but if I'm not, I'm going to have to entertain myself. But you'd be surprised, getting back to what I was saying, is when I have a chance after, we're kind of wrapping things up a little bit and I'm trying to gauge how much did the owner actually learn. Instead of wanting to talk about like, oh, I noticed when you were doing this, instead of wanting to engage in what we just created, they'll just launch off into like all this stuff about how messed up their life is and how try and get me to feel sorry for them, which I don't mind, we all got to vent a little bit, but I'm just saying, when I'm around one of those clients that's like, oh, thanks for fixing my dog or something, but then they're just like, oh, something, start telling me all this personal stuff. I'm just like, wow, okay, I'm down, to connect and support another human being, but it's definitely not appropriate, and it's definitely not helpful for the dog. And if that's the vibe of somebody, then I know when I'm leaving, I'm just like, oh man, it's all about them. It's not about the dog. So my dream client is someone that's like, oh, this is exciting. I can totally see how me and my dog have this relationship, and my part of this relationship has been unclear for my dog. So I'm going to focus on making my projection clear to my dog so that I can make things easier for them. What should I think about doing next? Those are the kind of people that I'll work with y'all all day. It's like a joy. So if you're dealing with, getting back to the beginning, your dog barking, it's real simple. Just, pay attention to how your vibe is in your house, and understand that your dog is just trying to participate in that vibe. So I hope that was helpful. And again, I speak freely. Look, I have no interest in building a following of people that just want to feel like they're making progress, when in reality we're just all sitting around making each other feel good. And again, humans' favorite thing to do is to make sound out their mouth. It's like we have this need to feel like as long as we keep talking, we're valid somehow. And dogs look at that energy and they're just like, are you going to be quiet ever? Or they start barking at you to see if it works. All dogs want is to like know what their role is and know how to fulfill that role without stress. They don't even know that's all they want, but really that's all they want. Because when you provide that for them, they're just like, finally, this is awesome. Let me be a happy dog. And not only will you see behaviors that you don't want disappear, but you'll see new sides of your dog that you didn't know they could be that cute. Because now they're free to be who they really are. It's so awesome. So again, thanks for watching the video. And go enjoy your dog. And try and like observe your dog. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Change, the vibe with your dog and just see what happens. Just notice. Alright, take care.